The idea is that, feminism has got a little bit wacky.
Hello, and thank you for joining us here at Alpha News. We're at the University of Minnesota, where just a few days ago, controversial Breitbart writer Milo Yiannopoulos spoke to students about the third wave of feminism and political correctness. Prior to the event, Alpha News had a one-on-one interview with Milo and released a clip from that interview. Now, let's take a look at the full interview. So, Milo, there's some controversy surrounding your visit tonight. Why is that?
Well, I seem to inspire everywhere I go, although I remain slightly mystified as to why. The majority of my message is about free speech, about openness of intellectual inquiry. I think that a lot of the problem on American campuses at the moment is that certain points of view have become impossible to say without social censure or some kind of professional risk. And these points of view are not radical. These points of view are not hateful. These points of view are not bigoted or unpleasant. These are simply, ordinary commonsensical views of people who don't believe as wacky radical feminists believe that there is some sort of sinister superstructural patriarchy keeping women down. It is people who do not believe that women on American campuses are at greater risk of sexual assault than women in African countries where rape is used as a weapon of war. It is people who do not believe in some of the tenets of the Black Lives Matter movement, which some people don't think is the best way to fix some of the problems in some of the racial tensions in America. Some of these opinions, which are perfectly reasonable and respectable, have become impossible to say on campus without risk. I like to come and say them because I have a bit more freedom to do it because I'm not a student anymore. And some people get upset about that because they're not used to defending their ideas.
And what are you going to be talking to students about this evening?
This evening we're talking about feminism, about how feminism has gone off the rails, restoring common sense to feminism. So it's a joint lecture. It's called Calm Down. And the idea is that feminism has got a little bit wacky, even in some cases tending into what I would consider to be outright hatefulness of men in some cases. That's bad for everyone. It's bad for women. It's bad for men. Some of the claims that they make are simply not rooted in reality. Some of the statistics that they use are bogus. If they're not pulled completely out of the air, they come from dodgy advocacy research and weird studies that are just repeated until they get the result they want. And many of these things seem to be rooted not in a desire for equality, as previous generations of feminists wanted. And of course, feminism, women getting the vote, is one of the great glories of our civilization, and it's something that women don't have everywhere in the world. We should be very proud about that. What I don't think we can be quite so proud about is a sort of atmosphere of man-hating, which seems to now be perfectly socially acceptable and even pops up in the mainstream media. That I think most men object to. I certainly object to it, and I think feminists should think again because in many cases they are driving the sexes apart, and that's bad for both men and women.
There's a group protesting tonight that didn't want the university to even allow you or sponsor you to come speak. What is happening, in your opinion, to free speech on college campuses?
Well, free speech, the thing about free speech is nobody has a vested interest in it. If you're honest, everybody would like to shut somebody down. If you're not having an academic discussion about the virtues of free speech and you just sort of hear somebody being crazy, then pretty much all of us would say, oh God, I wish that person would just I wish they could turn the volume down on that person, But that's not what universities are for. Universities are institutions of learning where you attend to challenge yourself, to broaden your horizons, to experience new ideas and new people, to interrogate the world in ways you hadn't thought about before. Seems to me that the culture on campuses these days is very much in the opposite direction. They think of university as a home where they should be safe and cosseted from other ideas. I don't believe that. I think people come to university, and I think most students agree with me, by the way, that they come to university to be challenged. There's a culture now where simply having your ideas challenged or having your point of view contradicted or having alternative facts presented to you is repackaged as hate speech. This is plainly absurd. It's Orwellian distortion of language. And some of the things that I like to talk about are, I like to point attention to some of the most absurd examples of that so that normal students who are not part of this wacky minority know what to look out for. When, for example, the next time they disagree with somebody and they're called a misogynist or a transphobe or any of these other words, these scary words that are used to shut down discussion rather than to engage with it, they know what's actually going on and they don't get spooked by it.
Mm-hmm. And where can our viewers find you if they want to follow your adventures around the nation?
Well, I'm on a campus tour all year, so you can find that at yiannopoulos.net/tour. I'm on Twitter as Nero, like the Emperor, and all over YouTube.
Outside of the venue, Students for a Democratic Society protested the event. Alpha News received footage of the protesters attacking a Milo supporter.
I'm gonna fucking blow your fucking brains out, man.
What, you want me to kill?
Blow your
Why
fucking
should I
brains out,
kill?
man.
Why should
Because you're a fucking piece of shit.
Why am I a piece of shit?
Because you exist. Because you were aborted.
Oh.
Milo presented alongside controversial author Christina Hoff Sommers, who also gave Alpha News a one-on-one interview. To make sure you don't miss the full interview, visit us at alphanewsmn.com later this week. Thank you for joining us. I'm Julia Aaron with Alpha News.